Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Did you know that Phil the Groundhog isn't the only thing Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is famous for? That's right, D2 Custom Guns, the home of Dan Heizenreiter and one of the best, fabulous 2011 builders in the country. So make sure you guys go check him out, D2 Custom, anywhere you can see him on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, go check him out. If you see myself, Patches Reader, anyone with the D2 Custom Guns, make sure you go check him out, and you will thank me later. Now, let's get on to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet, because that's how we communicate with each other, through the internet, through our cell phones, because we live behind electronic screens. But it's okay. Without further ado, we're gonna talk to my guest that I've met at a couple matches, Mr. Corrie Harlow. It's gonna be a good show, guys. Corrie, how you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. I mean, it took us a little minute, but we made it. We finally got this one working out. So all good in the hood. So
very glad. Honored to be here, man.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
No problem. We're gonna have a good conversation. But Corrie, for people who don't know you or haven't heard of you before, who are you and how did you kind of get into practical shooting?
All right. Well, like I said, my name is Corrie Harlow. I'm originally from Clarksdale, Mississippi. It's in the Delta. I now live in South Haven, Mississippi. I moved here about 3 or 4 years ago. But back to Clarksdale. So I'm an only child, and I grew up in sports. I played baseball when I was a kid, and I've always been into shooting, but never any type of action shooting. Mostly just, put a scope on a 22 rifle and shoot as tight of a group as you can. Did a lot of clay pigeon shooting, a lot of sporting clays. I don't know if you ever heard of 4-H, but we had 4-H in Clarksdale, and we did rifle, archery, muzzleloader, 22, and navigation. And I was very talented with a shotgun, pretty good with a rifle, decent with the muzzleloader, decent with the archery, and terrible with navigation. And so we would go compete, and I was pretty young, man. I was like 13, and I ended up getting to the nationals pretty much of 4-H shooting for the sporting clays, and placed like third in the nation in 4-H. And in the sporting clays, and it was so much fun, man. We did it in New Mexico. I'm not real sure where we were, but I remember there was like mountains in the background, and they had these things called wobblers, and basically it was a pigeon with a black pigeon underneath it, and so it would throw two, and the orange pigeon would take off, and then you had this black thing that was just going any direction it wanted to against the black mountains. And so it was pretty wild, but that, so like I said, so I've been around shooting all my life, been around guns, sports, started with baseball, played baseball probably until I was about 13, got introduced to tennis, when I was about 10, and has actually turned into a career for me. Now I'm a professional tennis instructor, not a professional tennis player, so don't get that mistaken. I'm not that talented, but I'm a professional instructor. So at the age of about 10, I started playing tennis, and I gave up baseball. I was really good at baseball, and I quit playing baseball to pursue tennis, and ended up going to college and playing for about a year on a tennis team at Delta State University. And that's pretty much, I guess, my story of Clarksdale. And then ended up kind of doing my own thing, kind of bouncing around job to job, doing that kind of stuff for about 10 years, and then landed on I'm going to teach tennis for a living. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So I moved to South Haven about 4 years ago, and I was giving lessons. It's a pretty good story. I was giving lessons to a lady named Jennifer Thompson. Okay, all right. This is when the ammunition thing was really crazy, and people were like waiting outside of Academy Sports at 6 a.m. to hopefully get one box of 50 round 9mm bullets. Do you remember this? Do you remember how bad this was?
Are you talking about during COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I mean, it was crazy. And so at that time, I had bought my first gun, my first cool gun, which I thought was super cool, was a TP9 SFX, a Canik TP9 SFX.
Mm-hmm.
No dot on it, just iron sights. And I was going to an indoor range, which I'd never been to before, because in Clarksdale, just a little Delta town, you just go in a field and shoot, as long as there's nothing behind it, But was shooting an indoor range, just shooting in a lane, can't shoot more than 1 second slits, and I didn't even care at that point. But anyway, I was talking to my lesson, Jennifer, about how crazy ammunition is, and I think I had her at like 9 a.m. and I'd been in Academy Sports since like 6 a.m. that morning, trying to get 50 rounds of ammo. You know what I mean? And she said, "Oh, that's funny. My son's a shooter, and he reloads his own ammunition, and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool, and she was like, yeah, he's struggling to find components, which I didn't even know what that was at the time. And she explained to me what it was, and she said, would you like to see a video of him shooting? And I was like, well, I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing I'm doing. I'm sure he's just standing still shooting at a bullseye target. I mean, that can't be too cool to watch. She was like, no, it's a little different. And so I said, well, sure, let me see it. And so I don't know if you know Michael Thompson. Do you know that name?
It sounds familiar, yeah.
He's a GM carry optic shooter. He actually shot open at Kentucky this year. But she showed me a video of Michael when he was a master. And I watched the video, and I remember looking at the video, and I was blown away, of course. And I said, there is no possible way that he is hitting anything on that. I mean, there's just no way. And, maybe the first shot, he can hit it, but the second shot, there's no way he's shooting that fast and hitting that target twice, because until you've learned how to control recoil at the level that we shoot at, you don't shoot that fast. You just don't do it. And if you do, it's terrible most of the time, And so I remember watching that video, and she said, well, I'll tell you what, if he goes out to our farm and practices, and next time he goes, I'll tell him to contact you if you'd be interested in going out there with him. And I said, absolutely. And at the place I work in South Haven, Snowden Grove Tennis Center, I pretty much make my own schedule, kind of thing. And so one day, randomly, about a month later, I guess, I got a phone call, and he says, "This is Corrie Harlow." I said, "Yes, this is he." And he said, "This is Michael Thompson." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, hey, man." And so he said, "I'm going to the farm today to practice. You want to come?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I go home and I grab my Canik out of the video's frozen, by the way. Is that cool?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't. It's nice, but I can fix it too. Well, I don't know if I can fix it, but I'm okay with it.
Oh, good. Okay, all right. So I said, yeah, absolutely, brother. Let me go home and grab my stuff, right? So at the time, my stuff consisted of a Canik TP9 SFX in the box with the holster that came with it, 2 magazines, and some factory ammo, and earplugs and glasses. And so I jump in my car and I meet him and I follow him out to his farm, and he proceeds to put on his DAA race belt with his CZ Shadow 2, and I think he was shooting a Shadow 2 then. He may have been shooting his Beretta, I'm not sure. But and it had this giant thing on top of it. I'm like, man, what the heck is that? He's like, oh, that's a red dot. Yeah. I was like, well, okay, all right. And so he said, where's your belt and holster? You got a holster? And I said, no, I don't think I got a holster. And he said, okay. He said, okay. All right. And he said, let me see. So he dug out a Glock. I think it was a Glock. That's a big, the TP-96FX is a long gun. So like I said, it would have had to have been the Glock 34. And it was an inside the waistband Glock holster that would hold my pistol. Mm-hmm. And he gave me that. And he gave me 2 mag pouches to put on my belt. And he said, okay, here you go. And I was like, all right. And so, he put 3 open targets at staggered at 357 yards. You know what I mean? And he said, okay, so I'm going to show you what to do. And you just do it how I do it, as fast as you can, do whatever. When the beep goes off, you're going to draw, you're going to put 2 on each paper target. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he explained the scoring zone to me and everything. And he said, okay, so do it for me. I said, okay. So I didn't even give any commands. I just beep it, how we always do. We don't know what we're doing. And so he explained the commands to me. I did the thing, beep, it goes off, and he rips through it, so fast and shoots all alphas. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, all right. And so then it's my turn, right? So I draw, and I put 2 on each one. He's like, okay, that's pretty good, And so then we ran it the other way, ran it backwards, from far to near. And I think we ended the day with maybe some, barrel to barrel moving into position, maybe shooting something on the move, but definitely coming into a position, settling and shooting, and I just remember having so much fun. And at the end of the day, I remember him telling me, man, if you stick with this, I think you can be pretty good at this. And I said, well, I love it. And that's when the bug bit me, and I was hooked. And I think I know I bought mag pouches soon after that, and then I ended up buying. I ran iron sights for my first 2 matches. I think I shot limited, and then I shot a dot with him the next time I went and practiced, and I couldn't find the dot. I was like, this is stupid. This thing's terrible. And he was like, dude, just get one. Just order one, and you put it on your gun, and just practice with it. And so, of course, now there's no going back, But yeah, before not soon after that, not long after that, I had a race belt, had a holster, had a dot on my gun, and that's how my USPSA career got kicked off.
Well, that's a lot to compact, but so
I know.
That's okay because I luckily I'm remembering and I wrote some things down, so I was able to jog with it. So, practicing with Michael, did it at some point where you're like, how did he get that? Was it kind of like, oh, I'll never be able to do this? Like, it was just like crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember the gun was just flipping in my. I gripped the gun, but luckily I knew how to grip a gun already. I remember going to a gun store. So I don't know if you ever heard of Bill's Customs Automatics, and he was like, all right, grip your gun for me. And of course I did some stupid grip, and he was like, whoa, okay, let's fix that. And so he showed me how to hold, how to correctly grip the gun. So I had that part down. But I just remember the craziest thing being the recoil. Being able to try to control, 2 on each, but the movement was natural for me. Mm-hmm. And it's only definitely because of tennis for sure.
Right. Oh yeah, and that's impressive too. Because a lot of people they don't understand movement, right?
Sure.
And for you, well, even coming from baseball and then going into tennis, you've got how your body's going to work, right? Like
exactly.
Like you're gonna if you've got to back up, how you need to back up to hit the ball with your racket, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
So you came in and so you had to figure out how to shoot the gun to be effective in stages in the beginning because you knew how to move.
Absolutely. I think I'm still figuring that part out, but that's that's the part that came natural to me, and all the high level shooters that were at the matches when I first started. Every one of them at the end of a stage would say, "Man, if you stick with this, you move very well. If you just got to learn how to shoot, And so that's that part came easy, and like you said, I feel like for most people that's the hard part. Mm-hmm. Is the learning how to move. Right.
So with your tennis background, coming into the sport, Did you feel like? Let me back up this a little bit. Right, so you went from baseball to tennis, right? So, how did you feel your baseball game improved your tennis game?
Eye hand coordination. When I finished my baseball career, when I was in like we played what was called, I think, Dixie League. And like the last 3 years of Dixie League, I made All Stars every year. I was a first baseman and I played center field. And my last 2 years, I batted number 4 in the lineup both years. And so before that, I was a terrible batter. I think I was scared of the ball half the time. You know what I mean? And then once I got over that, I started. I mean, every time I came up to bat, I almost hit the ball almost every single time. Never hit a home run. I've never hit a home run, but I always hit the ball. And so I think that definitely transitioned into the eye-hand coordination of tennis. And I think I also understood, being a tennis instructor, you get a lot of base, but you get a lot of base. In America, the kids play all sports. You know what I mean? In France, they play one sport. Okay, I'm going to be a tennis player. It's what you're going to do. In America, we play baseball, tennis, football, soccer, and whatever else all through high school. And so I was when you're a coach, you get a baseball player, and he wants to hit the ball as hard as he hits a baseball. And so that's like, all right. Well, now you have to no longer swing for the fences. You got to try to keep it inside of this court, inside the fence for sure. You know what I mean? And I think I understood that part also pretty quickly. You know what I mean? When my coach told me, okay, all right, now that this is a control game, I was able to understand that aspect of it quickly and realize, okay, I can't swing as hard as I want to. I have to swing to control the ball.
Right. Now, have you ever played doubles tennis, or have you always been a singles player?
I love doubles. Love doubles. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You get an extra 3 feet on each side of the court to hit the ball.
Right. Sure. Yeah. But if you're playing at a high level, that net man, if he knows what he's doing, he guards that alley pretty well. So he makes it hard to hit a winner. Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I was about to say, I remember, I think one year, summer, I went through a tennis camp back in school, and God, was I terrible. It was just I could barely serve the ball, but I had a blast, but I still sucked at tennis so bad.
Well, that's the thing with the summer camps, man. Serving obviously is the hardest part of tennis for sure. But with the summer camps, if you're not taking lessons consistently, then you're just trying, just make sure they have fun. Like you said, you had a blast. Just make sure they have fun. They're not going to become superstars in one summer. Tennis is one of the hardest sports to learn, and golf, because it requires so much control. That's the parents, I feel like these days, they think, oh, well, my kid didn't make the baseball team. Well, they'll surely they can play tennis. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll try.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. So, where was I going to go with this? It was a great question. Oh, there we go. So, tennis. Do you feel that is it a marathon or is it a sprint?
Sprint for sure. Well, you mean all right? So you mean like the whole match in general, or like from space to space? You
Right,
probably mean like.
I'm talking, yes. Like, I know you in reality on the court, you're gonna have to sprint to where they get to the ball, right? But do you feel that people who know how to modulate themselves are gonna perform better, or is it the guy who's just all gas is gonna perform better?
Okay, so all right, cool. It depends on your strengths and weaknesses. I don't know if you keep up with pro tennis at all. Roger Federer, most people know that name. You know what I mean? I would say Roger was more the attacker. Okay, I mean, he's trying to end the point pretty quick. He's an aggressive player, and then you've got somebody like Rafael Nadal or Novak Djokovic, who are more your marathon guys that will take you to 5 sets, and you're just about guaranteed to lose if you get to a 5th set. You know what I mean? Once it's gotten that far, that's where their next level of focus and endurance is going to surpass their opponent. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of my take on that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and it's cool because you can see similarities and everything. Right. In shooting, you've got the guy who's consistent. He can
Sure.
shoot a very consistent match, shoot 95% of points, and then you've got the guys who can just go slam a couple stages here and there, but they're not consistent, and then they just burn out.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
So once you got into the sport and you figured it out a little bit, where did you land at that point? Did you land in like B class, A class, what?
Yeah, so let's see. Once I got my gear all figured out, I got my belt and everything, and really got into it. So I was so obsessed with it, Alex, that I started shooting. My first match was July 25th, 2021. Okay, and I have shot 182 matches since then.
Mm-hmm.
I would shoot twice on a weekend if there were two, and so I was very obsessed with it. And so I think I landed once I got my gear all figured out, and I had shot a couple matches. I was probably a high B, middle to high B. In the first year, I made A, and in the first year, I placed. February, March. Let's see. Yeah, the first year I placed second at the Mississippi Classic in A class.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to a A level pretty quick, I would say. And I think that's due to being able to move and shoot while I move. That's kind of never been hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now shooting accurately, right, versus just getting 2 hits on Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That's taken work, but operating the gun on the move and was pretty easy for me to do. It kind of came natural, I guess.
Right. Yeah, which makes sense with your sports athleticism background and your coordination. It definitely plays a part into that. So that's nice to hear. So at one point, so you shot up high B, low A, and did you take any classes at that point, or has it pretty much been
I've never taken a class. Well, no, I'm taking it back. So I did not take any classes until I made master. And I took a class with Keith Tyler at TFI Academy. And it was before nationals last year. And I took a movement, oddly enough, of all the things that I needed help with, I took a movement class. I really just needed a class. I was in a slump, and I needed something to make me feel good before I went to nationals,
Mm-hmm.
And so I took a movement class, and it was supposed to be 8 people there, and nobody signed up but me. And so I got 5 hours of movement instruction for the price of an 8-person class. By myself, which was awesome, except I wasn't able to walk for like 3 days afterwards. From having to get down low and do, basically, just back and forth low shooting, 6 or 7 times in a row, and then do it again and do it again,
Yeah, that doesn't help when you're expecting 8 other people to be there, so you get your breaks, and then you're like, oh no, right. All by myself.
Well, I thought I'm in pretty good shape too. I've never been a gym guy, but I've always been active. But my legs were. It was painful. I remember calling Keith the next day and going, "Man, you killed me. You killed me." My legs were very sore.
Yeah, that's for sure. It definitely can take it out of you. I remember I was with a buddy and he took a private and I was just kind of there watching, and he shot about 1,500 rounds on that 5-6 hour private. But Lord, he was rough afterwards.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, your hands are hurting. Your legs are hurting. Your feet are hurting. At least it was really cold when we first started, and then it got up to about 45 or 50 as the day went on. But Keith is a shout out to Keith. Keith Tyler, TFI Academy. He's a great instructor. Great guy, super nice, super personable. And he really has helped me a lot, through my shooting career. So,
yeah, and he's a wealth of knowledge. I had him on the show. It's been a minute now, but he definitely is a wealth of knowledge. And it's kind of cool because he came from that law enforcement background too, so he's able to speak to other things instead of just performance shooting. So he's for people who don't know, he go check him out. Like he's in Tennessee.
Tennessee, he's in Enville, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Got a great range, man. I mean, it's just one big bay. I'm terrible with measurements, but it could be freaking, I don't know, 60 by 60 yards or so. I mean, it's a big old bay,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably bigger than that. But I would definitely recommend it. He offers movement, basics, handgun basics, swingers class. My next class is going to be swingers class. I'm going to do a swingers class with him. I think in September maybe.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about doing his complete athletes program?
So, I was signed. I was actually going to do it. I was signed up for it. And it just, man, it was the kind of thing where I knew that, I have tennis tournaments on the weekends that come up, that I have to run. And then I hate missing locals. You know what I mean? So I just decided to get out of it. He thought it was a good idea too, because it's kind of thing where if you pay, whatever, let's say X amount of dollars and you don't show up, well, that's on you. You got to pay up front,
Right.
And so, it just wasn't something I wasn't going to be able to commit that kind of time consistently,
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, where do you shoot most of your locals? Are you shooting them mostly in Mississippi, or are you shooting mostly in Tennessee?
Tennessee, man. There's unfortunately I'm at the top of Mississippi, and so the closest range to me is Crossroads, which is in Corinth, and it's a really cool range, man. But you can tell it was the place to go back in probably the '90s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell it was a really awesome place, and it still is. It's just that it's just gotten old, and the people that run it have kind of been doing it for so long. They're kind of like, oh, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And so the next closest thing to me would be Boondocks in Jackson or Magnolia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 3.5 hours or 3 hours away. So my home range would be MSSA, Memphis Sports Shooting Association in Memphis, Lakeland, Tennessee, which is about 40 minutes from my apartment. So
It's not
that's
terribly
where I
bad
shoot.
then.
Oh, no, not at all. And you never know, you may get to practice on your way to the match. A few shots. Maybe drive by. You never know. In Memphis.
Right.
But yeah, that's where I shoot the 95% of my matches. Steel Challenge, IDPA, USPSA, everything. And I've actually joined the club. It's a great club. Great club.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty cool. Like, because you just shot yesterday? You shot the Tennessee USPSA Section Championship, and where was that hosted at?
That was at Henry County Gun Club, which is in Paris, Tennessee. Up around Jackson, past Jackson, probably about an hour north of Jackson. Yeah. And it's a good club. It's a good club. Brent Weeks took that over. Took over running the match. Brent runs a match in Pinson, Tennessee, called the Dry Creek Shooting Club. And so his match, he has a monthly match, the Dry Creek match there, but he took over as the match director for the Tennessee section in Henry County last year and this year.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah.
So how do you feel? I haven't seen any. I saw one person stages. I saw Lee Henderson stages, but what did you feel of the match overall?
Match was good. Match was very good. Very, very well run incredibly well. I mean, we had 7 people in our squad. The way he did it was he broke it into AM squads and PM squads. And we started at 125 and we were done shooting by like 4:30. It flowed really well. So shout out to Brent for that. The stages were cool. I actually had a stage in there that I submitted. Another friend of mine that shoots local with me, Seth McMahon, he had a stage in there that he submitted. And all the other stages were really fun. I did not perform as well as I would like to. I don't know what was wrong. I wasn't really focused. I think I was tired, man. The tennis tournament this week, not to make excuses, but I would get there at 9 a.m. and string rackets, and then I would teach, and then I'd come off the court and I'd string rackets, and I'd look at my clock, and it'd be 11:30 at night, and I'm still at the tennis shop, and that was Monday through Friday.
And you get paid salary.
Well, no, I'm an independent contractor as of now. Hopefully, salary's coming soon. But the pros, they go out and they warm up with a racket for 20 minutes, and they're like, "Hey, will you restring it for me?" And they bring in like 4 of them at one time. So, I had to stay late to knock out the rackets, to have them ready for them. And so anyway, it's just been kind of a long week, and I don't know. It may have carried into the match. I don't know. But overall, the match was a lot of fun. I had a great time. Like I said, I wish I would have shot a little better. I didn't. It was funny. I mean, I didn't shoot bad. It was the kind of thing where, like, I would finish the stage, and I'd be like, "Man, okay, that felt good," right? And then I would hear Alpha Mike. Right. And it would be on the most random, just open target at 15 yards. Then I'd have a dead center alpha and then a mic, So I guess my visual patience was just not there on a few targets. Other than that, my time was there. My hits were there. But 5 mics will hurt you over 8 stages.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I had a good time. Squad was fun. Great match. I highly recommend if you are within distance. He's hosting it there again next year, and I think they have to change after that. But I recommend going to it. And if you get a chance, I would recommend coming to his local match. He hosts a really good local match at Dry Creek Shooting Club on the first Saturday of the month.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty cool. And the nice thing is that clubs are able to host it 2 times in a row or 3, or so you can get people to come and enjoy the match. And I bet it really was nice for you because it was a half-day format. You could leave in the morning and not have to leave Friday night.
Oh my gosh! Or leave Thursday and drive to Ohio or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is like majors are a commitment. I mean, it is a real. If you want to do it right, and walk the stages and do everything, it's a commitment. It takes a time and money, and it's not just like let's take off and do it and then come home and oh well,
Mm-hmm.
So it was a relief to be able to get up in the morning, drive, walk stages, shoot, and drive home all in the same day. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
Right, because in reality, if it was an all-day match, you probably wouldn't have been able to attend this weekend. Thank you for watching another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, go check out our sponsors when you are available. We've got D2 Custom Guns, Hunter's HD Gold, Go Fast Don't Suck, Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, 2 Alpha Apparel, RangePanda.com, Summit City Bullets, Laugh and Load, Southern Bobby Q, and the Tom Castro Shooting Academy. Now let's get back to this awesome episode.
Probably not. Yes, that is correct. So
I guess here's another question for you. So how did you feel nationals went for you?
So, all right. So nationals, I thought overall nationals this year was way better than nationals last year. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I told G-Man that when I saw him in person. I said, man, hands down, much better match than last year. Good job. First day we shot zone 3, which did you see that?
No, I didn't. I watched for a little bit, but yes, that zone 3 was probably a doozy for you, wasn't it?
So zone 3, after you being in the car for 12 hours, then you get a good night's sleep, you walk the stages, and then you shoot, right? And so I was in a really good squad, and it was the thing was, like, I love big stages. I love building stages, and I build big stages with a lot of movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the bays that we have at MSSA, the farthest shot that I can give you is probably 30 yards, right? And that's not going to be but about one target, because after that you got to go forward, unless you're just going to shoot everything from the very back of the bay. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they had, like I'm sure you've heard, partials at 35, 40 yards, and they were IPSC targets,
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I only hit one of them. I only hit one no shoot. I think I only had one no shoot on the distance targets, which was impressive for me. That I was happy for that. First day, my accuracy suffered a little bit. Other than that, I felt pretty good. My movement felt good, but my accuracy, because it was just some distance out there. They had a good blend of a close target, a medium target, and then a far target. And so first day was decent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second day, I did well. So we went zone 3, then we went zone 1. And zone 1 went good for me. I definitely gained some ground there for sure. Zone 3 was where I lit it up. Zone 3 was definitely the last day. That was my best day.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started on the freaking swinging platform stage.
Oh, okay.
And I actually won. I had a high hit factor there in my group, in my squad.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good start. And then the next stage was the lay down stage. Did really well on that one. And just continued to pretty much, hold it together throughout zone 3 and finished, man, I felt great about it. I placed 45th out of 510 people. I felt really good about it. I was very happy.
I could imagine, yeah, because with that, you've shot fairly consistently, good high percentage of alphas compared to your Charlies, very little deltas as well, so that's always impressive to see. Means something's paying off, right?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I know that, like, if I could reduce my Charlie count, I know, just look at nationals, if I could cut my Charlies in half, you look at Christian, you look at Garen, you look at these guys, Eric, and they're shooting 60 Charlies, 40 Charlies, 50 Charlies, where I'm shooting 120.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could just cut that, and if I could have cut that in half, I would have been in the top 20. I feel like, So, but still very happy with my finish. But I know that's something I need to work on, is my, shooting my sights. You know what I mean? I think sometimes I get carried away. I get worried about my feet, when my feet are going to get me there just naturally because of my history in sports, right? And so I don't need to worry about those. I need to worry about my visual patience, and then the time will most likely be there.
Right. Well, and even looking at the in master class, right? So you've placed in master. You were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but 7. 5 through 7 were 0.03 difference. I mean, it was tight. Like Carson Herding, Mike Seaclander, and yourself. Like, if anyone had one different point somewhere in the match, it would have affected placement.
Exactly. That's what's so cool about nationals, is how little. I mean, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's impressive how how stacked this field is, and you can get 500 people to shoot it. I mean, I wish every nationals was like that. Maybe we could actually we could see who the best of the best was. But everyone shoots different divisions, except people come and shoot carry optics since it's a separate nationals.
Totally separate. Yeah, I mean, I guess because that's definitely the percentage of what people are shooting right now, isn't it? I'm sure it's carry optics.
Yeah. The biggest percentage is carry optics, but I mean, like you have like Jason. You've got Christian, who's an open shooter primarily, and Mason, who's a production shooter, and you've got all these guys who come in and shoot carry optics nationals because it's earlier in the season, but you've got everybody to come shoot it.
Right. And they're not having to pick one class or the other. It's just its own map. Right.
Yeah. There's nowhere else to hide. It's not like they can hide in another division. Unless you got bumped to open in at Carry Optics Nationals from having 200 mags.
Right. It was stacked this year, man. Good Lord. I mean, it was stacked last year, but this year it was really stacked up.
Yeah. Now, how did you feel about the whole match being IPSC targets?
All right, that's a great question. So in the past, I've hated IPSC targets. I really had a problem with them. I did not shoot them well. I would shoot almost half alpha to half Charlie on the stage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't respect them at all. And I just got used to shooting USPSA targets. And so when I got there and I saw that it was all IPSC targets, luckily I don't know where in the past year, but I had a turn where I started shooting IPSC targets well. I think because I realized, okay, either you're going to start shooting them well, or you're going to suck on stages that have them, and every major has them. So get it together, So I didn't like it, honestly. I think it would have been cool to have a few stages with some USPSA targets. Especially when that seems like the only USPSA target in the whole facility was at the entrance that showed you there was a USPSA match there. That's what they had at the entrance, was a USPSA target that said Nationals. And then you get there, it's all IPSC targets. But they did great, man. I mean, and I don't know what their thought was behind it, using all IPSC targets and then inviting the best shooters in the world that shoot only IPSC targets over to come shoot it. But hey, whatever, mm-hmm. Whatever, hey, they would have shot good on whatever you gave them. It wouldn't matter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, the best person on that best day is going to win that match. So, and luckily enough, everyone is pretty consistent over 3 days to withstand the match, right? Like, it was unfortunate. I'd have loved to have seen Christian not have any mechanical issues, but
so what happened there? I saw his post. What was his what happened?
So from what I can understand, is it that that SIG bit the dust that day? It just decided to malfunction and lose zero.
Okay, so it was more of it was a zero issue more than than a fraction or a failure feed or something. It was a dot issue.
Yeah, and that's the worst kind because the dot can be great up until that instant where it's going to give you problems. So
sure, right. Oh yeah, I remember we were shooting a match somewhere. The Hillbilly Classic, which is like a little mini major. And our best shooter around here is Garen Singleton, who plays top 10 again, this year. And anyway, he's a beast. And I remember he drew his gun, and we were maybe 2 stages into it's a level 1 called the Hillbilly Classic at Casa in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And it was a quick, fast 24 round, just through like 3 windows. You move window, and just shoot. And he was hitting the bottom of every target. I mean, like in the guts, you know what I mean? And he went and checked his gun, and his dot that they hit on the CZ is direct mount, so the screws had broke, and he had no idea. So it's great until it's not, and then you can't fix it in the middle of the stage. I guess it's not like a stovepipe where you can clear it and keep going and lose a second.
Yep, exactly. And at that point, you've lost points, lost time, and it's just not a fun time, right?
Right. Yeah. luckily, I was able to the local before nationals. I mean, it was unbelievable how lucky this was. I was shooting the last local match before Nats, and I have a habit of always turning my dot off when I finish the stage. And I was the next shooter up, so I took my dot cover off, turned my dot on, and I thought I felt my dot move. And I was like, okay, it was probably my slide just moving a little bit. And then I did it again, checked it again, and I was like, okay, all right. And I got Garen to come look at it. He was like, oh, absolutely, your dot's definitely loose. And so I took my slide off of my backup gun, put it on my main gun, and I'm still shooting that slide on that gun. And it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad I was able to find that before I went to nationals.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to have that worry or that issue at nationals, like at any rate.
Especially on zone 3, especially.
Yeah, you didn't want to. Yeah, you didn't want to have a loose dot on zone 3. That's for sure.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So what are your current goals for shooting at this point?
So all right. So like my consistency is a big one for me. So like yesterday, I was inconsistent. Like you said, right. So you've got these guys that can shoot consistent matches, right? I feel like the best shooters shoot aggressive and fast, but they're also consistent with it. I mean, they can shoot 10 stages in almost, or 9 out of 10 stages in a row consistently at that 95 to 100% level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Versus where I consider myself a high masterclass shooter that can put a GM run together.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next stage, I might have, 2 mics somehow, where those guys don't seem to do that. You know what I mean? They just don't seem to do that, and so, my big goal is to get more consistent, which I definitely have, to improve my accuracy. Cause like I said, I'm fast already. So I know that I need to not worry so much about my feet and worry more about my hits, and then know that my feet are going to get me where I need to go in the time I need to get there. Just shoot sight space most of the time. If you're not shooting sight space, you're not getting your hits, and at minor, you can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford that at all. I when I first started, I had no idea what dry fire was. No idea. And then when somebody explained it to me, I was like, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to shoot at something that didn't not actually even get to shoot at it? And so I ended up trying it. I bought some dry fire targets, and I remember it was all right. So backtracking to the Mississippi Classic, right? It was me, Michael, and Karen, and we were in a hotel room together, and we were dry firing, and I drew my gun, cut it in a dot. Garen goes, okay, stop. He said, what were your hits on those targets? And I said, do what? And what do you mean? He said, what were your hits on the targets? Yeah, I said, what do you mean? I mean, I hit the targets both times. I know I did. He said, okay, well, did you have 2 alpha? Did you have an alpha Charlie? I said, I have no idea, Garen. He said, okay, well, there you go. And he said, that is absolutely something you need to be able to tell me when you finish this run. You need to be able to tell me, I had a mic on that one for sure. I had a delta, a left delta. I had 2 alpha. And I just remember that being a huge breakthrough for me and totally changed the way I approach dry fire.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to call my shots, and it really helped me a lot. It helped me a lot with my accuracy. So that helped kind of, boost me a little bit. And now I'm just trying to put them together, the movement with the accuracy. And I think that started to come together really well. I mean, I had a really good match at Kentucky this year, which is a tough match. Kentucky is a hard match. And I went into it feeling good, and I performed well. And then a nationals right after that, and I performed well at nationals. And so, I would guess my next goal would be to just, keep focusing on like I said, my accuracy. I think is my biggest, what's holding me back the most. I feel like is my not being able to keep my alpha count up throughout the entire match the way I should, and staying consistent with it.
Yeah, and that's big for a lot of people too. That they should strive for is to keep those percentages up and call their shots. Like a lot of people, like myself, they can be like, it's somewhere on the target, but it's like,
right.
Or sometimes like especially those distance targets, it's like the dot looked okay. I'm not going to be able to say exactly what it was, but
sure. And those are hard, man. Those are hard. Those are hard shots. Yeah, I just try to make sure my dot doesn't dip or something,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you have to throw a third one for a good measure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I've been really working on tuxes a lot lately.
Mm-hmm.
Tuxes at distance eat my lunch. Bad. Yeah. And so I've been really trying to really work hard on just sending two and seeing two good. Just see the dot settle 2 good times in the middle of that target, and then move on,
Yep, exactly. Move on and move on with the stage and keep going because Lord, people will throw. I've done it too, where you throw 2. Oh nope, they're in the black. Throw 2 more. Oh, they're on the other side of the black. Throw 2 more. Sure. You got to bill drill into the target at that point. But
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do. It is. Just to rush it when there's just there's targets you got to respect. You got to respect mini poppers at 20 yards. You got to respect steel at any yardage. Yeah. But you got to respect the tux. I mean, if it's not a point blank tux, or if you got to respect that thing. I mean, it's very easy to pull that gun left and right. And you'll have one mic on the right, one mic on the left, and nothing in the middle. Mm-hmm. So, and also another big thing for me was my mental game. Being a tennis player, I would get angry a lot when I would play tennis when I was younger. I strive for perfection. I think I was raised that way. My mom raised me, if it's not perfect, I don't think it's probably not good enough. You know what I mean? And so I think that has hurt me in some ways. I used to get real mad at matches, and if I had one bad stage, it would ruin my whole match. Mm-hmm. And I've worked really hard to get out of that, and I've had a lot of help from my friends who basically just gave me a bunch of crap the whole time. That would try to get in my head. When I would get up there to make ready, they'd be back there just, saying whatever they could say to try to rattle me, to make me strong, to make me more mentally tough. Mm-hmm. And I think it worked, and you got to realize that if you shoot a stage and you do it and you shoot a bad stage, okay, what is throwing my magazine over here gonna do, or what is screaming out loud that's not gonna do any good. You gotta forget it. You gotta shoot it, and if it happens, okay, well, forget it's over. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that I've been really trying to work hard on is controlling my emotions. Right. If I have a bad stage.
So, have you read The Inner Game of Tennis?
I have not.
You're saying a tennis player hasn't read the mental management book called The Inner Game of Tennis?
I'm not much of a reader, but no, I have not read it. No, I have not.
Yep, that's one of those other books, like Steve Anderson always talks about, mental management. Lanny Basham's book. But the Inner Game of Tennis is always one I've always heard about mental fortitude and whatnot. So maybe you need to read that book or listen to it on Audible.
Yeah. I probably would. That would be a great thing to do when I'm driving to my next 9-hour major. Yeah. Would be, instead of listening to something stupid like when I last year on the way to Nats, I listened to Bad Friends for 9.5 hours. But yeah, I mean, because this game, I mean, I feel like it's 90% mental. I mean, a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, and tennis is too, man. You know, once you get to a certain level, everybody can shoot, everybody can run fast, everybody can move efficiently. It depends. It gets into who can control their mental game the best. Tennis, same way. You get into the top 1,000 players in the world. They can all hit a serve 140. They can all rally 100 balls in a row. It's just who can stay mentally tough when they make a mistake. You know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Who can recover the best and shoot to what their skill level is, right?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. For sure. For sure.
So Corey, kind of when I'm kind of near my wrapping points today, but I've got a few more questions for you. So, um, my first question is, I'm curious, what does your make ready look like?
My make ready uh, is I've been told it's a little long. I try, I try not to make it long, but you know, I walk up the line. I wait for the order to tell me to make ready. Of course, I usually you know, get in my position. I draw my gun. I point at something. Whatever's available in front of me to point at. You know what I mean? Whether it's my first target or not. Check. You know, point at that. Holster my gun again. Do it one more time, and make sure my draw's there. And then I load, rack my gun, holster, and go through my ghost run, I guess is what you would call it, in my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember watching Michael and Garen do that and wondering what in the hell are they doing. You know what I mean? I remember looking at somebody and saying, "What are they doing?" You know, and thinking it was just dumb. And now, if I don't get if something was to happen and I wasn't able to do that before I shot the stage, I believe I would have a dumpster fire. I've become so dependent on shooting the stage subconsciously by. I mean, that's my last chance. That's my last focus point. Is okay. Here we go. Open, partial, open, slasher. You know, and I try not to call no shoots, no shoots. I call them partials. You know, and I try to go through the whole stage, and then I you know, hands down, are you ready? Stand by, boom, take off. You know, I would like to have a. I think I heard the interview with you and oh my gosh, I'm so bad with names. MPA open shooter, Mike Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he tells himself maybe it's like all alphas, you know, or whatever. You know, he has one little catchphrase that he tells himself before he starts, you know, and I keep telling myself I'm going to do that, but I never do. But that's what my make ready looks like.
Gotcha. And I agree. Everyone needs those last mental reps before they go. Cause I mean, I do that all the time. Like I will always try to get that last mental rep, at the starting line. And like, if I take too long, I'm sorry people, but I want to be ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because yeah, I mean, there's been times where, like, let's say, you know, you draw to 3 open targets and a steal, and I might draw to the first 3, and then I pass the steal in my head, and I'm like, oh, and then I got to start over. Well, there goes 10 seconds. Sorry, y'all. you know, I'm starting over. But I do try to do it as fast as I can, but still I have to, you know, be focused when I do it, you know, and I know some people disagree. You know, they think as soon as you walk up there, you're supposed to be ready. Boom, shoot. You know, but you know, hey, I mean, it's like you said, you got to do what works for you. I know that's what works for me. So,
Right.
you know, IDPA is tough because you can't do that. They don't let you do that. So I remember the first major I shot in IDPA, the RO said you can't do it. You can't no individual walkthroughs is what they call them. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And so that kind of so then from then on, I had to be ready when I walked up there. But you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. IDPA is its own scary beast as it is.
It is. You know, but at least it's something else to shoot. It's fun. You know, it's definitely not my main focus.
Yep,
But it's something else to do. You know.
Yep. Now I've got two more questions I've got for you. So, do you have any sponsors or partners that help you along your journey?
Yeah, so I have 10th Inning Bar and Grill. So it's funny enough, none of my sponsors are shooting related. Okay, I had to go out and find these people. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I wanted something on the back of my jersey except besides my name. You know, and I felt like I earned it. I mean, I felt like I'd become a pretty high level shooter pretty fast, and I was, you know, whatever you're willing to help me with, I'll take it. So anyway, in the tennis world, you meet a lot of people, you
Right.
know. And so I happened to give tennis lessons to the owner of this bar and grill, and I said, "Would you be interested in sponsoring my shooting?" And he had no idea what it was, and I showed him a video, and he said, "Well, what does it entail?" And I said, "Man, just whatever you can give me, $100, whatever. I've got nationals coming up. It's going to cost about $1,000, travel probably, round trip, whatever." So they helped me. 10th Inning Bar and Grill in South Haven, Mississippi. Um, and then Rave Nutrition is another one.
Mm-hmm.
They do like loaded teas and stuff. And he was also at tennis courts. I think the same time I was having the conversation with 10th Inning. And he said, "I'll help you." And so he helps me out. And then my parents own a Shell Rapid Lube, which is a oil change business. So they helped me. And let's see, hold on. So I got 10th Inning, Ray Nutrition. I got my parents. Um, and I guess my biggest one would be Zero Sports. Ray, my guy, man. Shout out to Ray Padawarren. Uh, he gives me my jerseys. Um, and he actually paid my entry fee to Nats this year, and I could not have been more appreciative.
Yeah, because
Um,
that's not cheap now at $400. That's not cheap at
no,
all.
sir, that is not cheap one bit. And he called me on Facebook from, I think he was in Thailand. I don't know where he was. He's been all over the place this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at something. He said, "Hey, man, I know I hadn't talked to you in a while." He said, "But I want to pay your entry fee to Nats, and I won't take no for an answer." And so I'd already paid it. And he said, "You'll get a check in the mail." So thank you so much, Ray, for that, and for making great jerseys. I love his jerseys. Their designs are so cool on them. Um, I suggest anybody looking for a jersey, that's the guy to go to, man.
Well,
Um,
and I'll even speak to that too. So, I work a bunch of major matches every year, and I wanted. I'm not a big I like the polo shirt, but I really like the hooded jerseys, right? Like my buddy Tom Castro, he wears the short sleeves with the hoods, and I'm like, that's what I want. But I was working this major match. It's next weekend. Well, so by the time people listen to this is Monday, I'll be there at the range on Tuesday, just helping them set up, and then we're going to shoot Wednesday through Sunday. But I wanted the competitor jersey. I ordered myself a competitor jersey, and I hit them up and asked, "Hey, I see there's no option for short sleeve with a hood," and they're like, "Just put the upgrade on, and then just put in your notes that you don't want the long sleeves, you just want short sleeves and a hood,"
yeah,
which was cool. And then maybe 2 weeks later, our staff jersey order got pushed through. So his staff emailed me and asked, "Hey, I see you also have a staff jersey coming. Would you like the same upgrade to your staff jersey, the short sleeves with no hood? We won't charge you for it, but would you like it?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, please." So that was
yeah,
super cool. They reached out to me. Didn't have to do that, but
no,
it was
yeah,
super cool.
definitely. And a lot of people are repping the hooded jerseys. I can't shoot in a hood, but I definitely can walk stages with a hooded jersey on. And I actually just told Ray, I was like, "Man, I would love to have a hooded jersey just to walk stages in, represent." Because right now I'm just wearing a Patagonia one, which is fine, you
Mhm.
know. But it definitely helps when you're out there walking stages to keep the sun off your neck.
Yep,
Um,
and I won't shoot in the hood, but yes, walking around like between pasting and stage runs, like yes, the hood goes up to protect the neck and the face, and
some people shoot in the hood, man. I don't see how, but they do it.
yeah,
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 I mean, I guess it ain't going nowhere. It's not going to come off, but still, it would just bother me.
yeah.
I actually wear, so I wear these long sleeve dry fit shirts when it's 110 degrees on the tennis court. And when I first started teaching at Stoughton Grove and I teach usually typically 6 to 8 hours a day. Short sleeve shirts, your arms will fry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And these long sleeve shirts, at first they're hot, but now I will never go back. I mean, I will never go back. Now, I tried shooting in the 100-degree heat with a long sleeve shirt on because my first jersey was a long sleeve jersey. And I like the short sleeve better for shooting, unless it's cold. But when it's hot, I like the short sleeve better. And I actually like the mock neck, like the half collar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a collar, and it's not a not collar. It's got the little half collar. That's the one I like.
Yeah. Well, and then I even see Grace Laster. She wears the no sleeves.
She got sleeveless. Yeah.
And then I just saw Lena Michalik with her World Shoot jersey. It was sleeveless. And I'm like, all right.
Is it Zero Sports too? Yeah, he did World Shoot, didn't he? Yeah. So I guess the girls are getting sleeveless. I mean, my guns aren't quite ready for sleeveless yet, but I don't think I'd rep it anyway. But that's cool that he'll do that for people,
Well, and if you think about it, with a rifle, you're in more contorted positions, and who would want their shoulders, their shirt to bind them up in their shooting? So I could totally understand the sleeveless, where sleeveless makes sense for shooting rifles.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And like you said, he'll do it. He'll accommodate. I mean, that's his whole thing. He just wants his people to be happy, He was actually in Tennessee first time I've seen him in forever. It was good to see him.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is pretty cool. So Corey, I think I have one last question, but that's pretty much all I had. But if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best place to do that?
I would say probably on Instagram or Facebook. You can just search my name on Facebook. Instagram, I don't even know what my handle is or whatever. I think it's Corrie-Harlow 5. I think maybe, I'm not sure. Or if you have a phone number, you're welcome to call me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a lot, guys. Like I said, I got good, I got decent pretty fast, and then I got good, and a little bit after that, and then I've just kind of rode that train, and so now I'm kind of at that plateau where it's like, what's next? So yeah, but anything I can do for anybody, I will absolutely do that. Absolutely. Feel free to contact me. If you need a tennis lesson, I'm your guy, and you're in the area.
Yeah.
I definitely know more. I know more about tennis than shooting. That's for sure.
Right. It's okay. We're just gonna replace the gun and put a racket in people's hand, and then you'll teach them that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel confident I could hit an alpha zone at about 10 yards with a racket and a ball for sure.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, Corey, brother, thank you for chit-chatting with me. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while, so I appreciate you sitting down with me, even with everything that's going on. So,
yeah, absolutely, man. And just one more thing, I do want to say that, I want to shout out to my locals around here that work really hard to throw in a good match. So if you are in the area, in the Tennessee area, and you want to shoot a good match, Henry County is one. Dry Creek is one on the first Saturday of the month. And then I personally think that our matches at MSSA are just knock them out of the park. I mean, I work really, really hard to set up a stage. I usually set up 1 or 2 stages. Seth McMahon, he sets up great stages. One of the best things I ever bought was one of these Lego kits, these 3D stage mover kits.
mm-hmm.
Oh, incredible. But we work really, really hard to have a good match. So if you're ever in the Memphis area on the second Saturday or the fourth Sunday, please come out and shoot MSSA with us. We'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, no problem, guys. So if you're in that area, go shoot a match with Corey. Go shoot his stages. Tell him if you liked him or not, and hopefully you liked him. But Corey, thank you again, brother, for your time, and I appreciate it. And to the listeners, get out and do the things. I'm going to see you on the next one.
Thanks, man.